Hope you guys are all having an absolutely fantastic day. I have myself with me right now a very special friend, guest, client, amazing person who just actually moved back to sunny Mexico. Is that correct, Tara?
Yes, it's so beautiful here.
Show us the view in the corner first. I want to show you that view in the
Yeah,
corner. That was
I
absolutely
just want to
beautiful.
like turn it over.
Oh
It's
my
sunny
gosh.
like this pretty much all the time. Like it's just great.
That's what happens when you go out of business, correct? You have freedom.
Yeah, exactly. Well, when you have an online business, especially which is something I never even thought would happen.
And now look where you are now.
I know
Years later, you're in Mexico, you living the life with Ludo and
uh,
having a great time.
honestly, if you would have asked me 4 years ago, I was just walking down the street yesterday with Ludo, and this is by far the nicest place we've been in Mexico so far. And I was telling him, I was like, you know what? I'm like, if you would have told me 4 years ago that this is the life that I would be living right now, I would have never believed you. Never. Like, I couldn't even, my life is so good now that couldn't even imagine this for myself. Imagine.
Tara. What's crazy, when I first met you, you were so kind of like, of course, kind of doing the corporate world there, kind of getting out of the corporate world for almost a decade of being in that world. And it was like draining you, causing, it wasn't your thing at all. You're like, man, I want to like grow my fitness business. Of course, you had zero clients at that time. Was it 3 years or 4 years ago? I forget now, Tara. How long was it?
You know what? Like, it's quite incredible that it is only under 4 years.
Yeah.
When I think about it, the amount of growth that we had in such a little time, yeah, it's under 4 years.
It's insane. It's like 3.5 years. Absolutely crazy. And the fact that you like grow like where you are then to where you are now, and like you're traveling like Mexico, being there for 6 to 8 months, like having no problem whatsoever running your online business right now. And the last year for you has been like crazy growth for you.
We
You know,
doubled our revenues,
yeah,
literally.
yeah.
Like, it's insane.
you know and now your team is growing, which is even crazier. Like you guys are like, your team is growing now to Ludo. Of course, you hired another coach here recently, I believe, as well. So you, of course, you were doing like basically coaching on your own for the first couple 2.5 years and so forth. But all of a sudden you hit this curb, and I was like, oh my gosh, and you're coming now to where now that of course your success now is compounding. All that hard work and like building you were doing year after month after month after month kind of came to fruition for you right now, correct?
Yeah, exactly. I think that's what it all comes down to is the consistency, being consistent and wanting to grow and wanting to deliver value and like never, ever, ever, ever giving up on your partners because, we've had so many challenges. And I think that's what people see. They only see the success, but they
Mhm.
don't see the times that, like we were faced with those challenges like COVID and businesses closing down and the times, I'd be overbooked and crying and talking to you. And like, I would never know sometimes where to turn, and having you in my corner, I always say to everyone, you're the backbone of my business. Definitely.
Thank you. That means the world. Honestly, it's a team effort, and just hearing your success. I keep telling you, I was like, as you keep growing, that's like the best gift I could ever receive. Is like seeing you grow and seeing you live your dream and having freedom and living where you want to live in your world and like doing what you want. Because obviously, when I first met you, it was like you were in a tough place. You were in a tough place. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I didn't even know, I didn't even know where to go or where to start. Like, that's the thing, is that I always wanted to be a personal trainer since I was 18 years old. Like, right now I'm 35 years old. And it was always one of my biggest dreams to be in fitness. But having lived alone at a very young age, about like 18, 19, I had my first apartment, and I was looking for security more than anything else, So I was like, okay, getting paid at that time, like what, $12 an hour. I was like, there's no way I'm doing this. And
Yeah.
thinking of working for myself wasn't an option neither. So I went in the financial industry where I was seeking, to have security and to have growth and to have just, all those nice promises that they give you. But after 10 years of working in corporate, I was absolutely drained. And, I wouldn't even realize that I was taking so many sick leaves or drinking, everybody, the 9 to 5s, like drinking on the Friday, you finish work, let's go have drinks. But it's really just because I was completely unhappy with my job.
hmm hmm
Mm.
Well, even like for example, at that point to where you are now, like just being in a place now where you're so health, like you were always health conscious, but like in a place now where you've done fitness competitions now, you went pro, I believe you went pro in one federation already. Like you've
Yeah.
just exploded, but it's to see how much joy, like you've come from this like person that was like stuck in a place, and you were like trying to find this joy and happiness in what you wanted to do, and now it's like not only you making income, that's a great thing, it's a byproduct, but you're so
Yeah.
full of happiness and glow and joy, which is one of the things that's kind of cool because you have so much success that attracts to you now just by doing what you do authentically.
Yeah, and I think that's what's really interesting as well is that, when I was working in the financial industry, I was working so many hours and I was burnt out. And yet, I would never say for an instant that I work any less because I'm a high performance individual and I absolutely love to work. I love, love, love to work. That's just how I am. But I don't get that where I get burnt out anymore, or like, yes, I get tired, but not in the sense where it will lead to depression, or it will lead to anxiety, or it will lead to lack of drive, or lack of motivation. It could lead to being exhausted at times, being an entrepreneur and trying to grow a business, but not the same way. And I really think that when you do what you love and you're passionate, because when you're successful in an organization, you're contributing to the organization. And a lot of times they'll try to make us believe that it's because of all the tools and all the resources they provide us with, but really it's your skill set and your work ethic that makes you successful. So no matter where you go, you will be successful if you're that type of person. So when you do it for yourself, it's incredible, the abundance that it leads to in every single aspect of your life. So I think that's why it's
Yeah.
important that people understand that there are individuals like you that can help others build a business and do what they love. Because if you're performing somewhere else, you
Mm.
could perform that way for yourself.
Wow. Wow. So go back a year ago, T. Like, what was the turning point for you specifically that kind of like woke you up to be like, I want to like grow the company? Because of course, you were building like step by step, in those couple of years. Like you were building. All of a sudden, this year you exploded.
Yeah.
So what was the turning point for you?
Honestly, I think this is like one of the most interesting experiences because everything you learn in school, like, I studied in human resources management at McGill, and they teach us all about planning for the future and planning midterm and planning this. But like, I don't feel that anything we did was ever planned. And, with COVID, our environment is changing so fast now that you have to be adaptable. That's more what it is. It's like you have to be adaptable and keep your goal in mind and shift your strategy very, very fast. So I think that what really, to go back to your question, what made the business boom, because we were always doing good since day
Yeah,
one. And I really
always.
want to put that out there because as soon as I started working with you, within our first month, I was already making more money than I was making at the bank within my first month. And within 6 months, I cleared a $20,000 debt, bought a BMW, and was making 10K a month. So, the success was always there, but we were always staying at 10K, 10K. Then there was COVID and we were shut down completely, like completely. The business we were doing 15K at that time a month, personal
Mhm,
training on the
mhm.
floor, no online business. And that was one of our biggest challenges. Remember, I called you, I was like crying. I was like, what am I going to do now? And you're like, T, we have to go online. And I was petrified because like online, I was like, well, how am I going to keep serving my clients? And I just couldn't see it.
Yeah.
And we created a new concept together. And within 6 weeks, we hit back 10K a month with a complete new concept, which is quite unbelievable. So it's funny because from the beginning up until 3 years, we were like 10K, 10K, whoop, and then back up 10K, 10K. And I remember telling you at one point, I was like, Matt, I'm like, it feels like a freaking weight loss plateau. I'm like, why can't we get over this 10K? And it just so happens that there were several things I think that really shifted the business. So one of the things was I think the marketing. A lot of times, we're so focused on attracting clients, and I see this a lot with trainers in general in the business, where it's like the whole entire focus, 80% of marketing activities is to get new clients. But in my opinion, 80% of our activities should be retention, because the reality is our clients. So basically, we need to value our customers and add continuous value and improve their experience. Now, what happens and why this is so important, because when we retain our base, when we're focusing on attraction, well, we're also getting referrals. And then this is keeping people in our business. So it's like growing, 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 growing. I have clients that are with me for 2, 3 years at this point, and they're not leaving. So I think that focus, for one, really focusing on adding value to the experience and customer retention, and less on new clients, because otherwise you're losing out the back door,
Mhm.
is a big one. Now, how I optimized that, how I was going to give value to my customers, is I noticed I was making all my posts online, but kind of like an open sea. You know, it's like,
Mhm.
here I am talking to everybody. And I remember you doing one of your courses,
Yeah.
and you had compared two fish bowls,
Yeah.
and you're like, you could either be the small fish in the big sea, or you could be the big fish in the small sea. And I don't know why. I always have these clicks. It always comes to me, these clicks, your voice, something at some point in the shower, running. It hit me. It hit me. I was like, you know what? I'm doing all this because my retention was great. My retention was great. My service was great, but attracting, I was like, how can I attract people? I have this great content, but I'm not getting it out there to the right people.
Yeah.
And that's where we shifted there was two pivotal points in my business, which was creating a Facebook community instead. So attracting people in my community where I could just give them my value.
Yep.
um, Such as the mindset at first was, I didn't want to keep people in my community if they were not paying me. So you're not paying me anymore, well, you're not part of my group. You know what I mean? And I realized that was such a bad idea, because when you put them back in the sea, they're exposed to everybody.
Yep.
So instead, I put them in my sea and started inviting my clients to invite people in. So now I have all these loyal followers, that it increased my conversion rate over the last few months. So that was one thing that really, really, really made a huge difference.
Yeah.
And second thing was really the lead magnet, creating a lead magnet. So again, being in people's inboxes and showing them you're the expert, but also having the right avatar. So knowing who you're targeting and what message you want to send them, so that you could be specific and not general, and then just keep sending them value.
Mm.
So the recipe book was really very professional. It showed results, which was important. It gave value and it gave steps, and it demonstrated a little bit about my process. So it helped the customer build confidence, and it was giving them for free something. So then we were able to pull them in. So those were two things I would say that really like made a huge, huge, huge difference this year.
That's
Was that?
amazing.
There was a lot of
Oh,
information.
that was terrific. But there's one thing you always talked about, T, this year, and that was your mental shift,
Yeah.
right?
So
There was a shift for you. There was almost like a switch for you, because all of a sudden this year, when you broke past 20K, which actually was the summer, you're like, I said to you, I says, T, when you get past 20K, you'll feel these gates open up for you, because now you'll feel like you've broken past a new barrier in your company. And literally, you're getting 20. All of a sudden, you're at 30 in no time. And I'm like, that's how fast it was for you, because the floodgates went like this, went boom. You know?
honestly, like it happened so freaking fast. It doesn't even make sense. Like my goal, I write on a board, you know what my annual goal is.
Mm-hmm.
And like I wrote 20K for January. I want to be a steady 20K by January. We hit 15K, which was our goal in June. And right away the next month, we were at 20K. Right away the next month, we were at 25. And then we were fluctuating between 25 and 30 up until then, till now. And now it's like we're not really going under 30. The demand is ongoing. But I really think that it has a lot to do, Matt, with the compounding effect of the actions that we do over time. So it's like you had mentioned, you've been telling me this for a year. You're like, you're going to have that moment where it's just you're going to see it's going to go up so fast. And I was like, when is this freaking moment coming? And yeah, like, you know what? I think once you have credibility and, you know, you have a steady process and everything is set up differently, and it's kind of like you just get it. You just
Yeah.
get it that there's something different, and it flows, man. It's just like,
But you know what's cool, T, is that you take almost 4 years together. It's been about 3.5, 4 years. And what I want to share about your journey, which obviously is kind of people listening to this, is that you went through ups and downs. You went through moments where you were questioning a lot of things. You know, questioning your business. Am I going fast enough? Can we go any harder? Are we doing the right thing? You challenged me a lot, which actually was a beautiful thing. And the nice thing was, it's amazing. But the part of it too is that you always kept moving forward. Every time you always kept. And I was like, she's going to crush it. That's why I kept saying to you, there'll be a switch that'll turn on for you where things will happen and this overnight thing will take off for you like it did for this year for you. But you put in the reps, T, and they weren't always clean reps, but you putting in the reps. And my hat goes off to you because you
Thank you.
kept moving forward, which is a pretty powerful thing to be doing, T.
Thank you. On that, on that subject, I think it's really important to say, you're talking about mindset. And I think one of the important mindsets to have when you have a business and entrepreneur is to not associate too much emotion to things that happen,
Yeah.
because you're going to fail. But when we see things as failures, we could get discouraged rather than see them as learning experiences. So I learned a long time ago, just from being through painful life experiences, that I never allocate too much emotion to a situation. So when something happens, I look at the situation, I'm like, okay, this happened, I take responsibility. What could I do different? Even when a client leaves my process, I don't say, okay, my client left, oh, too bad. I'm like, what if your client leaves you? It's not about money. They invested in you. They have the money. It's because they feel they're not getting value somewhere else. So you need to find out, what is it? Why are they leaving? So I would ask my clients, I'm like, what made you leave? How can I improve my services? And then I would go back and I would improve, and I would pay attention to trends, trends, people complaining about the same things, whether it's in their check-ins, because all these are opportunities. It's data to improve. So I think, there was a lot of things that we had tried that didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was a year ago, I had tried having a team. Remember, I had 7 people working for me at one point. And I took a very passive role. I figured everybody's adults. I figured they would know how to serve my clients. But it doesn't work that way. My customer standards are here. And unless I articulate it, I supervise it, I'm implicated, it will not be done the way I want it. And it didn't work. It didn't. I had to get rid of my whole team, and I did it all at once.
Yep.
And but you know what? It's easy to get discouraged and then say, you know what? I'm never going to have anyone work for me ever again, because it doesn't work and only I could serve my clients the way I
Yeah.
want. And my clients only trust me. That's not true. If you think that way, you're never going to grow. So it's about knowing that there's times to grow. And that's what you told me also, is that, sometimes we want to be up here. Like, you look at the top of the stairs and you have that carrot waiting for you. You want to run up. Well, you run, you're going to fall. You have to walk up the stairs. And that's how we learn. So sometimes it's looking back and saying, okay, where did I mess up? What can I improve? What can I do different? And now you see, with the help of Jamie, with your help, we were able to find a way over the year, even with Laurent, everybody came in where we were able to optimize our systems to make knowledge transferable, and also at the same time allow us to have the opportunity to integrate members on our team progressively, where they could learn the method and the company values while giving a good service, and everything is supervised. So now it's like, oh, wow, okay, our coaches are amazing now, and they're all like me and everybody trusts them. Well, it's because we did things different, so yeah.
That's a really good point, though, because you talk about how you had a team before, which, of course, we were talking about like almost like growing. Again, we're growing a little bit too fast at that time, and also we let go of that team. Obviously, it was about over a year and a half ago, something like that. And you regrouped, and you were like a trooper. You were a champ. You're like just regrouping in powerful ways. And it's like this year, it was almost like a blur, because I was like, oh my, T, it's going to happen this year, or things are going to happen for you. And all of a sudden, June came, July came, August came. All of a sudden, the explosion went up. And now when Ludo and, of course, your coach came on, now your team comes, even with Laurent on board helping you in the back end with system as well too, you had to go through all the non-sexy things that aren't really sexy in the beginning, but they're required to grow. Even I remember a call with you over a year and a half ago talking about system with the engine back in the day. And you were like, I saw a deer in the headlights with you. I was like, systems? What? Really? Like, no. It was like one more thing to think about. You know what I mean? And you took it for a couple of weeks, you soaked it in, you breathed through it, helped muscle, you kept working through it. And now, like, I give you credit. Like, you're a well-oiled machine, T, and you keep getting better and better. And I'm impressed. So you did a really good job doing that.
Thank you. And it's like the role in the company is so different now. It's like right now, I'm in a position where I'm actually removing myself from coaching and from making plans. I don't even make nutrition. I don't even make exercise plans anymore. I only make the nutrition plans. And it's like, I remember we had that, remember it was with the Platinum, I think,
Yeah.
or one of them.
Fun.
And it was about becoming the CEO of your company. And I
Yeah.
remember talking to you after, and I was like, whoa, this is way too big for me, this vision. I was like, what the hell? But you know what? Sometimes we feel that way because we're not there yet. And, we have these limiting beliefs and we don't have the experience. But later down the line, if you just keep on going, these parts, they end up coming together. And that's where I am right now, where it's like, you already conditioned me for this last year, where I was like, you know what, I need to remove myself, I need to build my team. And we can do it. It's just really important to keep customers involved in the process. So you need to keep them involved. You need to make them understand that it's adding value to their experience, why we're doing it, how it's still supervised. But right now, that's where I'm at, where, Ludo is taking over. And then Lucy's becoming his assistant. And we're trying to replicate this system over multiple coaches in 2024, so that we could really bring our business to the next level.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Music to my ears.
Where's your Mexican guitar? Just pull that thing out, get some people in the background, man.
Yeah.
So what would you tell a coach? Like, obviously, whether you're experienced coach, been doing this 10, 20, 30 years, or you're a beginner coach, like, there's some things you can share that you can teach other people to, that, of course, you've gone through in the last 4 years. And you're a great example, almost the ideal example of what it takes to build a great fitness coaching company over the last 3.5 years. So what would you tell someone like that, whether you're experienced or a beginner?
I think the biggest takeaway is really the value of having partners. Like, this is something that, even prior to knowing you, Matt, when I used to work in the financial industry and I wanted to grow as an individual, we can't do everything on our own. We cannot.
Yeah.
We do not have the skill set. We do not have the knowledge. If you look at any big company that generates $1 million, they have multiple people with multiple roles, because it's just too much for an individual. So, there's a difference between being self-employed and growing a business. And if you want to grow a business, you need to have partners, because the partners are going to make up for where we lack skill. And, far too often, people will say, it's an expense. It's not an expense. It's an investment, because you know what? Unless we invest, we'll never get there on our own. Never, ever.
Yeah.
So I think that's the biggest takeaway, because no matter what hurdle I faced, I always had somebody to fall back on. And, when we grow, we're in an ever-changing environment right now. So the needs of the business are always changing. The needs of the clients are changing. So you need to have people in your corner to help you develop and just keep on going.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So, question on Mexico, because now that over here, you've been there since last week.
Yes.
So when are you guys going to come back to Montreal? Are you guys going to move there and just put up a shop there and live in Mexico? What's your plan?
So, well, like I said, we never really have plans. I think since COVID, like since I've had my business, I've never had plans. It was like, I go here and I'm happy here. And if I'm not happy there anymore, I leave. But we've been living the digital nomad lifestyle for 3 years now. This is our 3rd year in Mexico. So we give up the apartment completely in Montreal, and then we come here. But right now, the way things are looking with the growth that we had this year, I'm making more money than I could keep up with, and my bank account is going up too much. So I need to do something with my money.
That's hilarious.
Good problem. So just a tip, because I had a light bulb the other day, as Hanyu, I get these light bulbs.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, well, maybe my idea will be to buy a condo in Montreal.
Yeah.
Because when you buy a condo with a very, very big lump sum, you could get a line of credit, and through the home line of credit, you could buy your second property. So that's a way that I could acquire 2 properties at once. So I'm kind of maybe looking at doing that now. And according to my accountant, I could open, what did he say? It is Anyways, it's like a different type of business where you could put your condos under your business. So maybe another business in the near future.
Well, look at your mind. Your light bulb's kind of clicking now. All these moments are coming
Yeah,
through.
yeah. So I don't know when we're coming back, just to let you know, like right as of now, we have until June
Okay.
here. And then we'll see, but we really, really like it here. Like it's like mini Miami, mini Florida. It's just beautiful.
That's amazing, T. That is absolutely amazing. Well,
You're amazing.
I love T, this has been fantastic. Well, thank you once again for this amazing chat, conversation, hearing some of your stories, your things you've gone through. It's great seeing your successes, T, like seeing you
Thank
keep
you.
growing and evolving. And I'm looking forward to keep. There's one thing I told you at a coffee shop one time I want to reinforce here. I said, one day, T, you're going to be having your book on stage, inspiring your women, and it's going to happen in the near future for you. So that plan I'm going to put on your stamp on your wall somewhere because it'll happen one day for you, and you're getting closer.
Yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there. And I'm forever, forever, forever grateful for you. And you know what? It's not just for me, it's like the difference you're making in so many people's lives, Matt. So many. Like, you're such an incredible person. Thank you.
Thanks, T. Always a
I'm
pleasure.
emotional.
Well, thank you, T, very much. I really appreciate your time today, as always, on your busy, wonderful, evolving schedule. And just sending love to you and Ludo. And you're also your new furry child, by the way. Apparently, you had your birthday with your furry child.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Kiwi, he turned 2. I
Kiwi.
don't
Yeah,
know where he is though.
yeah. I
Kiwi,
saw
King
your
Kiwi.
picture on Facebook, and I was like, Kiwi's got so much fluff going on there, man.
Yeah, King Kiwi. It's so funny that we named him King Kiwi before even knowing that he'd be treated like such a king.
Well, there you go. And now he's in Mexico. He's like, you got no more snow to worry about no more,
He's
right?
traveled to all kinds of places. He's traveled to Mexico 3 times. He's traveled to all kinds of places. He's traveling chichi.
Well, he's in his glory years right now. He's having fun.
He is, yeah.
Awesome, T. Well, thank you once again. Have a beautiful day, and wishing you guys only the absolute best, T. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Gracias.
Merci beaucoup.